Welcome to the National Council for Hypnotherapy podcast, where we dive into the fascinating world of hypnosis, lifting the lid on hypnotherapy, sharing insights and tips for change as we chat. So sit back, relax, and enjoy all the wonderful possibilities of hypnotherapy. My name is Tracey Grist, and I will be your host today. Good morning. I'm here with the wonderful Julie Bale, a hypnotherapist in private practice and author of my favourite title, The Real Me Isn't Fat. Hi, Julie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's a great title, What brought you the inspiration for the title and for the book? I'd love to know.
So it started off, I have been a dieter all my life, probably nearly 50 years on diets, all the different diets. And always looking for, if you're a lifelong dieter, you're always looking for the thing that will work. Yeah. And particularly going through menopause, finding that weight was going on, and then taking on board that belief that, well, now I'm in menopause, so that's it, I'm done now, I'm going to be like this forever, and I am resigned to wearing elasticated trousers and, that kind of thing.
But all that.
And so I was reading about Ozempic and Wegovy and these new weight loss drugs, and my first thought was, I need to get them. I need to try it, because then maybe I can find that this thing can work. They're miracle wonder drugs. Maybe they can work. And then I thought to myself, as it was sort of percolating, I was thinking, do you know what? I'm a hypnotherapist. Maybe I could create something that I believe that I've taken this job. So like the hypnotic gastric band, but a jab. So the idea of hypnotic semaglutide came into my head, and I thought, well, do you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it for me. I'm going to try it. And I'm going to ask clients, friends, family, if they want to join, just to do a little beta trial, see what happens. We did a 6-week trial, and on that trial, everybody lost around a stone. Amazing. Yeah. Not dieting, but just believing, taking on board the belief, working. I created some sort of hypnotherapy exercise where we imagined that we were injecting ourselves with this drug, and then we behaved as if we were, and that's where it came from. And the title, The Real Me Isn't Fat, well, that comes from much earlier. That comes from when I used to look in the mirror and be really disappointed, defeated, hopeless, fed up, and just say, that's not the real me. The real me isn't fat. And so that's where the title came from.
Yeah. And so was this book just like thinking, oh, the injection works, I'm gonna give a manual? Is it a manual for people to follow?
Yes, it's so what's happened is, over the course of it, we've been running it for 14 months or so. When I say we, obviously I am doing the hypnotherapy, but I have a sort of cohort of incredibly switched on helpers who come in and are doing the program too, one of whom has lost 5 stones and 6 dress sizes by doing this, and has totally changed her life with hypnotherapy, as we know can happen. And in the end, we've tried at different lengths, and we've come up with 4 weeks seems to be the best way. So what happens is, we use as the core of the program is the hypnotic semaglutide, the jab, what I now call the weekly shot. So we have our weekly shots, but also around that are the fairly straightforward hypnotherapy exercises that we would tend to use in private practice around hypnotherapy for weight loss. So for instance, we'd start off using the Dickens pattern. So figuring out what would happen if I do this, what would happen if I don't do this. Then I also have something on personalized nutrition, because as a lifelong dieter, I think we've been infantilized by the diet industry, And we're led to be, and it's so confusing, isn't it? Because we're given all these mixed messages about sometimes, oh, fat is really bad for you. No, fat is really good for you. And all of these kinds of things. So what I believe has happened is that we have divorced our mind and body. So when you're a lifelong dieter, you tend to be eating often food that you don't like. And so you don't want to be there when you're eating. So you divorce the mind from the body. And what we really need to do is have that completely connected and be hyper aware so that we can recognize natural fullness. Yeah. Because I never knew that. I knew starving and I knew stuffed, right, either when I was on a diet, under eating. And I didn't know fullness. So what this does, the hypnotic semaglutide, then what we do at every meal is we sit and are completely mindful, eat a mouthful. Am I full yet? How is my body reacting? So really getting the mind body back together again, which we know hypnotherapy is absolutely brilliant for. So lots of other, exercises to create that mind body connection, and things like the heart, mind and body connection exercises, even sort of the hypnotizability exercises, those kinds of things, just to make people really aware of when I say this to my mind, my body does this, idiosensory, idiomotor response, those kinds of things. So there's the natural fullness, there's the personalized nutrition. So learning what our body wants to eat. Then, of course, the massive beliefs section, the debunking of all the beliefs, all the cognitions that we've taken on board over all the years that we've been dieting that are not serving us. So what's stopping you? And finally, then we do an exercise called the real you, which is where we go to our future selves and figure out what it is we're going to do now that our brains and our minds are not so full of diet talk, thinking about food the whole time, worrying about all of that. When I put that down, what amazing, extraordinary thing can I now do with my life?
That's incredible. That's incredible. So when you were saying about the hypnotizability exercises, could you give me an example of that? Just what would be an example of hypnotizability?
So something like a book and balloon. So where you would imagine, that you're in the library and you put a book on your hand and then you absolutely feel that physical response from saying some words to your mind. And this is for people who are not used to doing any kind of hypnotherapy, actually realizing, knowing that they can have that response is huge, because people have so many misconceptions, don't they, about what we do.
Yeah. So what happens? You imagine that you have a book on what talk me through what happened.
Yeah. Okay. So you imagine that you are in a library, and in this library there's a table. And what you do is you have your hands out in front of you, and you have one palm facing upwards and one palm facing downwards.
Yeah.
And then you imagine that you're taking a book from the table and putting it into your hand, and you really feel that. So you want to become really, really aware of how your hand feels when it's got that book on it. And then when you've done that, then you would take another book and put another book on top of that and feel what happens then. And if you feel comfortable, you can try a third and see what happens. And what normally happens then is that people notice that their arm has become stiff, that they've brought their elbow in to help support the book, that their hand has gone, down a little bit. And then they imagine a balloon being blown up, a really, 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 really big balloon being blown up underneath the other arm, which then lifts. So then what they do, and at that point, I would ask them to just open your eyes and have a look at where your hands are, because then they would see that they don't realize that connection between these words you put into your mind really does affect the body, can affect the body. And if you can do that, then you can tell yourself that you've had a weight loss drug that's going around your body, that's going to suppress your appetite at meal times and make your digestion slow down.
Yeah, yeah. It's brilliant, isn't it? And just that example of understanding and like how we commit to imagining the book or how we commit to that balloon raising our arm. And we can work on that, can't we? And practice. So even if at the beginning you think, oh, I think I'm pretending, you can still practice.
Yeah, and practice, I think, is the most important part of it, isn't it? Because hypnotherapy is a skill. And so it's not oh, I've tried it once and it didn't work for me, which is something that I can hear a lot from people who would say, when I did an interview the other day and the host said, well, I tried hypnotherapy and it didn't work for me. Why is that? And I explained to her that, hypnotherapy is a skill. In my work before I was a hypnotherapist, I was I still am a classical singer, and I would say to the singers who I worked with, the first time we tried to sing a top C, it wouldn't have been the best top C that you sang, but the more that you practiced, the better you become, the more comfortable you feel, and the better the results are. And it's exactly the same with any hypnotherapy exercise, isn't it?
Well, and this is the thing. I think there is so much sort of myth out there that it is like the magic pill and the like, oh, I'll just have a hypnotherapy session and my whole life will be cured. And it actually, like anything, it's just repetition, practice, being more comfortable. So you went from singing to hypnotherapy. What happened? What was your
Well, that's an interesting story. So what happened
yeah.
was I was singing opera professionally, and I was offered an audition at Covent Garden, you know, and I had been absolutely fine with singing up to that point. I'd never had any real difficulties with performance, but at that particular time, I went there. I went to the stage door and I sat down waiting for my audition, and I realized I was absolutely petrified. I was so terrified that I couldn't even speak to the people either side of me. I had to just, the whole massive stress response,
Yeah.
chaotic thoughts, sweaty palms, shallow breathing. I thought I couldn't cope, I couldn't do it, I felt sick, all of those things. And I went and did the audition, and I'd love to be able to tell you that how it went, but I don't know, because I was on total autopilot the whole time. I wasn't present.
Yeah.
And I came out and I thought there must be a way of being able to deal with stage fright. There must be a way of being able to sort my mind out in the same way that I'd sorted out my technique. I'd learnt my arias. I was able to, obviously I was able to sing quite well to have been offered
Yeah.
an audition there. And so, to cut a long story short, I found hypnotherapy, and I found that hypnotherapy worked for me, and I loved it so much. I found that I was able to bypass the stress response, that I was able to change the habitual thoughts. So I realized that doing oratorio, so that singing as a soloist with choirs, I would find that in that minute before going out onto stage, going through my head would be the thought, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to trip on my dress, I'm going to fall on the floor, the audience are going to laugh, I'm not going to be able to sing. And that going round and round and round and round in my head. So I then ended up being terrified when I went out to sing. And I learned with hypnotherapy that I can just completely change those thoughts, and to thoughts that are going to empower me becoming the habitual thought. And this was such a miracle for me that I thought, I want to help other singers with this. So I worked in my first year, I went and trained as a hypnotherapist in order to work with singers, to add that to my work with singers and for myself. And then after a year of doing that and I worked with over 100 singers. We had brilliant results. I had singers in, obviously I can't tell you who, but I can tell you that that these singers were in real top level
Yeah.
global competitions doing really, really well because they were emboldened and free.
Yeah.
And then came the thoughts, well, look, if we can do this with hypnotherapy, what about the weight? So I'm still working with singers as well. You know, I still work with singers and musicians. But then once the weight loss work, the body love work came in, then of course that's really taken off as well.
Yeah, I have to say, one of my favourite people to work with are performers. And I remember my first trance, and I was working with somebody, I think it was to get a high A, maybe.
Mhm.
And I don't know about singing, but I was like, and you'll go to sleep. And they went in this really dramatic sleep style that I thought, is this true? And I realised, like there's so much commitment to the hypnosis. There's so much commitment to that change and working, which I presume is come from studying acting and committing to a role, and that conscious choice to say, oh, I want this to work. And just that alone helps to activate. Do you find that in your career of working with performers, with people open to hypnosis, it feels different to the body work? Because I imagine that there's quite a lot of resistance and desire with the body work more so. Or have I just made that up?
No, I mean there are sometimes we find resistance in people if they're not if they don't have an element of education about how hypnosis works because of all of the myths and misconceptions that are around, and people see stage hypnotists and they think that's what's going. Oh, I mean, it would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could do that? We'd be ruling the world.
You mean
It
kill
would,
the president? I must kill the president.
yeah, it would be wonderful. Like sort of Hogwarts for hypnotherapists. It would be amazing. I would love that. But of course, that's not the case. And so really making sure that people know what it is. And the reason why I think that for me, I found that performers really take to hypnotherapy is because they are used to engaging the imagination. You
Yeah.
know, they're used to creating worlds inside their head that they inhabit as characters and that kind of thing. And the discipline of regular practice is just already set up there. So they're like, yeah, I know that. This is all in my comfort zone. With the weight loss, with the body work, what can happen is it's not so much, I find, the hypnosis, but rather the dieting, the years of dieting, that it can be difficult to break from because people feel that it has to work. So you go on a diet and you do the diet and you do everything that the diet says and you don't lose the weight that you want to, and you say it doesn't work. And people transfer that sometimes to hypnotherapy as well. And I have to explain to them that they are the ones who are accountable. You are bringing the power back to yourself. You are the one who creates the belief and the expectation that this will happen. You are the one that sits at every meal and says, I've had a mouthful. Am I full yet? No, I'm not. I'll have another one. Am I full yet? Yes, I am. And then stop. You have to be completely accountable.
Yeah.
And unless that's been explained properly, people would like to believe in magical thinking. We have to tell them it's nothing magic happens when you close your eyes.
And I think it's that, isn't it? Like, what you know is when you work with people who want to change the shape of their body or get rid of the weight, especially if you've got dieters, all their life they've been told they can't do it, by failing at some unrealistic version of starving. And that reinforces that weakness. So you're then educating, is it?
Yes, absolutely. And helping with self-esteem, because when you have dieted for a long time, most people do have lower self-esteem because they've been used to being fat shamed, many cases, being told that they can't do things. And we know that the more that we're told something, it's very easy to take that on and it becomes our identity. And so there is an element of the program where we want to really consider, and at the end there, what is the real me? How will I know when I've reached the real me? And really work on changing those beliefs that are holding us back, which is probably the biggest area for people to deal with.
And that real me, like, how did you do your journey? Was it tough? Was it easy? How was your journey?
Well, yeah, so I personally I have lost 35 pounds in the last 14 months. I mean, I actually lost the 35 pounds in the first sort of 6 months, and then I've kept it off at that time. And everyone really needs to understand and know, and I'm sure people know, really, we would like a long-term weight loss journey to be linear, and it is not. It never is. It's a wiggly line, and there are often bumps in the road, and a lot of those bumps in the road come from the old beliefs and thoughts that we've had. So everything's fine while we are and measuring as well, because I say to people, if you step on the scales and it makes you feel rubbish and you're filled with self-loathing, let's not use that as a measure. I personally prefer tape measure. And for me, it was about, I had 6 bin bags of clothes that I walked past every day that made me feel rubbish because I couldn't fit into them anymore and I wanted to. And for me, the end of that part of the journey was when I took them out of the bag, put them back into my wardrobe and could wear them again, which was really wonderful. But it is still a process. There are these beliefs there that come up, and suddenly you go, oh, I didn't realize that I was thinking that. I need to deal with that. And mirrors and photographs were things that I have, even now, I can go back to that place and I have to remind myself. I look at a photograph and I might look at a photograph and go, oh, I don't like this about me in the photograph. But I have made a commitment to myself that I'm going to love the real me. And this is the real me. So it was only in April that I was sent a photograph from my trainer at the gym. He sent me a photograph and I was pulling that, I call it the Jeff Capes thing. So I was pulling that, and he sent me the photo. He said, I wanted to send you this because I want you to see you in this. And I looked at it and I suddenly thought, yeah, that is the real me. It is not the real me that I thought it was going to be. I'm not a size 8. I'm not, I do still have wobbly bits. I still have bingo wings. And so, but I looked at it and I saw a powerful, strong woman who has the body for the life that she's living now. And I thought, yeah, that's it. That's the real me.
That's really, really resonating, because I think we have this unrealistic ideal of what we should look like. And so our minds don't anchor to that future self, whether we know that it's impossible or it's sustained. Obviously I'm super tall, so all my imaginings in my 5'3" are all at least a 6 foot tall willowy person, which I will never be because I'm not actually designed to look like that. And so I think finding that true real self that represents who we are is incredible. Yeah. So if you could give a little top tip from the book, which you would, if somebody's listening and they've dieted and dieted and dieted, and they want to take control and do something different, what would a top tip be?
I think the most straightforward tip to use would be to, well, a number of things really. So firstly, make sure that you eat food that you like to begin with. Because if you're trying to eat food that you don't like, you're not going to want to be present when you eat. And that's the most important thing, is for you to be absolutely present when you eat and become that curious scientist. So I've had checking out the textures and the flavors, checking out how good it tastes, because it's food that you want to eat, and sitting with that and saying, how does it affect my body? And being totally hyper aware of how this food affects your body. Because when we diet, it's all sort of cookie cutter dieting, isn't it? You will be given recipe plans and foods to eat, and they may not suit your body. And if you've dieted for a long time, you don't know what suits your body. I had never been an adult who had chosen my own food. Ever since I was sort of early teens, I was dieting. So I didn't know the foods that were best for my body. So having to eating what you like, and then being fully present, tasting each mouthful and checking in and finding your hunger level so that you recognize when you're full. That's my top tip.
So what if what you really want is macaroni, cheese, and cake?
Yeah. I mean, I have a client at the moment who will, by her own admission, say she's a very, very fussy eater. And part of the reason for that is that she was forced to eat lots of foods that she really didn't want to eat when she was younger. Now, as an adult, she will eat hardly anything. There are hardly any foods that she'll eat, but she loves cake. And absolutely, I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't? But the what has happened for her, and the beauty of taking back control of your own eating, is that if that's what your body is craving, then great. And she has, in her first week on the program, she lost 5 pounds eating cake every day, because she just ate until she was full, and then she stopped. So her body was taking on board what it needed and no more. And then now, what happens then, obviously, when you become really hyper aware of what's happening in your body will then tell you. So, for instance, my birthday last year, I decided, as it was my birthday, of course, it was my birthday, and I had to celebrate with masses of refined sugar, because that's what we do, isn't it? But my body was becoming acutely aware of what made me the most vibrant and healthy. But I had this massive, like 2 meringues with cream in the middle and fruit around. I was like, this is my birthday. I'm having this.
I'll do what I want.
And I ate this thing, and the next day I seriously felt like I'd been poisoned, and I will not do it again, because my body was just saying that is too much sugar.
Yeah.
So the body does learn, and this sort of FOMO of when we have forbidden foods, and we've been told, oh, cake's bad for you, but what if it isn't? What if just a little bit of cake is what your body needs, that little bit of energy, and not too much, getting the balance right?
Yeah. So how have you noticed the foods that you have change over the months and that you've been doing it? Have you noticed like this organic shift?
Yeah, I really have. So, for instance, I was a huge snacker. I don't ever snack anymore. I never feel the urge to snack. So, often one of the things people say about dieting is they say, oh, I have no willpower. And I always maintain that that's not willpower, that's ignoring your body. And if you take it that, if you really listen to your body, what does my body want now? And one of the main mantras that we say from the first week is, ask yourself, is it habit or is it hunger? And that really resonates with such a lot of people because they're used to eating a biscuit in the evening, watching TV, and suddenly noticing that the whole packet has gone. It's such a regular thing, isn't it? But when no food is off the table and you can have whatever you like, then the calling for it stops. So you start to really listen to your body, ask your body, what is it that I need now to fuel my body? And listen. And that's why it's a sort of up and down process, because you're listening to your body and you're learning. And of course there's going to be trial and error, but in the long run, being the most vibrant and healthy is the most important thing. And that sometimes your body does want things that, having been a dieter all your life, you would say, no, I can't have that. That's naughty. Labeling foods is something else, isn't it? That's rubbish. Food is just food.
Yeah, and it's so difficult because I think that good and bad of food, like cucumber good, chocolate bad, all of those things are so binary and constricting. And so, as you were saying, if you take control and you decide and you listen to your body, nice, I like it. So where do you want to go with this? What's your future plans? Do you feel like, oh, I love this. I
mean, I love hypnotherapy. I love how we can really change our minds to change our lives. That sounds really cliche, doesn't it? But we can really, changing our minds can really change our lives, can help us to lead better and more comfortable lives. And I want to get out to as many people as possible that this can happen. And also all those people who were in that situation that I was in 2 years ago, who've tried everything, who feel defeated and hopeless and fed up, and that nothing works, and believing that the way to weight loss is through dieting, where I really do not. I think dieting is really bad for our souls and really bad for our bodies. And I want people to know that there is a way that's not dieting that they can do, that they can take back control and become their real selves.
Exactly. Wonderful. I love it. Well, thank you ever so much for your time, Julie. And where can people get the book? Where can they go, on Amazon, or where is it available?
Yes, the book. Can I show it?
Yes, please do.
I just absolutely love it. I'm so in love with it. Yeah, so the book is available on Amazon, and it's available on Amazon from the 10th of June.
Oh, in a couple of days' time.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you ever so much. And we'll put a link in as well with the recording. Thank you very much for your time and all your inspirational thoughts. That's wonderful.
Thank you. It's been lovely to meet you, and it's been really great pleasure to be on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie.